There comes a moment when a woman stops chasing noise and starts listening to her own life. That is when everything begins to change. Not loudly, not all at once, but in a way people can feel before they can explain. She answers less, she reacts less, she watches more, she protects her energy. And somehow the room shifts when she enters it. Not because she is trying to control anyone, but because she is no longer controlled by every look, every text, every mood, every delay, every opinion. That kind of silence is not weakness. It is power with nothing to prove. It is peace that no longer asks for permission. And if you stay with this message, you will see why the woman who turns inward becomes impossible to shake, why the woman who stops explaining becomes harder to manipulate, and why the moment she truly focuses on herself, life starts arranging itself in ways that once felt impossible. Watch closely because this shift is quiet, but it changes everything. Silence is often judged by people who are afraid of what it reveals. In a loud world, stillness is misunderstood. People think if you are not arguing, you are losing. If you are not explaining, you are confused. If you are not chasing, you do not care. But real silence is none of that. Real silence is what appears when a woman knows who she is without needing constant agreement. It is the calm that arrives when she stops trying to convince others of her value. It is the pause before a reaction. It is the space where wisdom enters. Many women are taught to soften every boundary with long explanations, to make everyone comfortable, to justify every no, and to carry the emotional weight of every room. They learn to overtalk when a simple boundary would do. They learn to overgive when rest is what they need. They learn to overread every change in tone, every short reply, every moment of distance. But then one day, something clicks. She sees that not everything deserves her words. Not every tension needs her repair. Not every misunderstanding needs a speech. And that is when her silence stops looking empty and starts feeling solid. People may not understand it right away. That is fine. Silence was never designed to beg. It was designed to protect what peace has already built. The change begins with a simple question that cuts deeper than most people expect. Where is my energy going? That question alone can wake a woman up. Because energy is life. Attention is life. What you keep feeding grows. If all your thoughts are spent managing other people, fixing confusion, calming chaos, predicting moods, and wondering how you are being seen, then your inner world becomes crowded, tired, and unclear. But when your attention returns home, something powerful happens. Your mind begins to settle. Your choices become sharper. Your body stops living in constant alert. Instead of being pulled in every direction, you begin to move with intention. This is not selfishness. This is self-respect. It is not abandoning others. It is refusing to abandon yourself. And the truth is, many women do not realize how drained they are until they stop, until they sit in a quiet room with no one needing anything, until they take a walk without the phone, until they say no and do not fill the silence afterward. At first, it can feel strange, even uncomfortable. Because if your whole life has been built around being needed, stillness can feel like losing your purpose. But stay there. That discomfort is not emptiness. It is the beginning of your return. There was a woman who spent years shaping herself around everyone else. She knew how to notice what people needed before they said it. She knew how to smooth tension before it became conflict. She knew how to carry family, work, and emotional labor all at once. From the outside, she looked strong. From the inside, she felt scattered. Then life became quieter. Certain roles ended. Certain demands faded. And for the first time in years, she had to face herself without distraction. At first, the silence felt heavy. She did not know what she wanted when no one was asking for anything. She did not know how to measure a day if it was not filled with giving. But slowly, she began to practice something different. Morning walks without messages. Breathing before answering, writing her thoughts without editing them, letting a call ring while she finished her tea, saying no without adding 10 reasons. And little by little, her center returned. She stopped feeling guilty for protecting her peace. She stopped rushing to solve emotions that were not hers. She stopped explaining every boundary like it was an apology. The people around her noticed. Some respected it, some resisted it. That is what happens when you change the pattern. But the most important part was this. She no longer felt split in 20 directions. She felt whole. And once a woman feels that, she becomes very hard to pull back into confusion. One of the deepest forms of power is emotional sovereignty. That means your inner state is no longer owned by every outside event. You still feel, you still care, you still love deeply, but you are no longer dragged by every passing emotion. You do not let every message decide your mood. You do not let every disappointment define your worth. You do not let every opinion enter your nervous system like an emergency. This kind of mastery is not coldness. It is freedom. Many people live at two extremes. They either explode instantly or they bury everything until it turns into bitterness. Neither brings peace. True strength lives in the space between feeling and reaction. In that small space, a woman can breathe. She can notice what is happening in her body. She can ask what is real, what is old pain, what is fear, what deserves a response, and what deserves release. That pause changes everything. Because once you stop reacting on impulse, you stop giving other people remote control over your peace. And yes, this takes practice. In the beginning, the old fire still rises. The chest tightens, the jaw hardens, the urge to defend yourself appears fast. But if you can breathe once before speaking, just once, you create a new path. Stay with that idea, because this is where many lives quietly transform. Imagine a moment of disrespect, tension, or emotional pressure. In the past, maybe she would have answered quickly, trying to correct the story, prove her intentions, defend her heart. Maybe she would have spoken harder, longer, faster. Maybe she would have won the point and still lost her peace. But this time, she does something different. She feels the heat rise and does not obey it. She lets one breath become two. She lets the silence stretch for a second longer than usual. And in that brief pause, she remembers something important. Not every invitation to conflict deserves acceptance. Not every wrong opinion deserves her energy. Not every challenge deserves performance. So instead of reacting from wounded pride, she answers from grounded truth. Her voice is calm. Her words are few. Her boundary is clear. The result is powerful not because she became louder, but because she became anchored. When a woman stops trying to force people to see her, she begins to carry herself in a way that cannot be ignored. That is the strange beauty of self-possession. It does not beg. It does not chase. It does not collapse. It simply stands. And people feel it. Some call it confidence. Some call it mystery. But what it really is a woman finally choosing not to leave herself in moments that once made her disappear. This power shows up in the body before it ever shows up in speech. The body speaks first. The way she stands, the way she sits, the way she enters a room, the way she listens without rushing, the way she keeps her shoulders open instead of folded in, the way her breath remains steady when tension rises. All of this sends a message long before words do. A woman does not need to perform strength when she is truly rooted in herself. It appears naturally. There was once a woman whose ideas were good, but people often overlooked her. Not because she lacked intelligence, but because her body was quietly speaking doubt. Her eyes dropped too quickly. Her voice shrank at the end of each sentence. Her posture apologized before her words even arrived. Then she began a simple daily practice. She stood still each morning, bare feet grounded, shoulders relaxed, breath deep, chin level, no performance, just presence. Over time, something changed. Her words did not become louder, but they became steadier. Her face softened. Her gaze stopped searching for permission. And when she spoke, people listened. This is embodied stillness. It is not about looking powerful. It is about becoming internally aligned enough that your body and your truth are finally on the same side. The breath becomes one of the most underrated tools in this journey. Most people only notice their breath when they are already overwhelmed. But a wise woman learns to use it before the storm takes over. One conscious breath can stop a reaction from becoming regret. One slow exhale can keep pain from turning into chaos. Breathing with awareness tells the body, I am safe enough to choose. I do not have to attack. I do not have to beg. I do not have to rush. This matters deeply in relationships because so many arguments are not really about the moment. They are old fears wearing new clothes. One person feels ignored and becomes sharp. The other feels controlled and becomes distant. One shuts down. One chases harder. And before long, Two wounded patterns are talking instead of two present people. But when a woman learns to notice her body first, everything shifts. She feels the tension in her chest, the quickening in her voice, the old story trying to repeat itself. And instead of feeding it, she pauses. She might step away for a moment. She might choose softer words. She might simply say, "I need a second." That is not weakness. That is maturity. That is someone protecting truth before it gets buried under emotion. And often, that one pause does more for a relationship than an hour of angry talking ever could. There is also a mirror effect in life that many people do not see until they begin doing inner work. People do not only hear what you say, they feel what you carry. Your inner world sends signals before your mouth opens. If you are full of self-doubt, people often test your boundaries. If you are starving for approval, you may attract those who enjoy withholding it. If you believe love must be earned through overgiving, you may keep meeting people willing to take without giving back. This is not blame, it is revelation. Life often reflects what is still unresolved inside us. And once a woman sees that, she stops making every problem about bad luck or bad people alone. She becomes honest. She notices where she says yes when she means no. She notices where loneliness has made her too generous with access. She notices where old pain has made chaos feel familiar. This honesty changes everything. Because once she becomes emotionally consistent with herself, manipulation starts failing. Confusion loses its grip. Her stillness becomes a filter. She no longer rushes into connection just because it is offered. She watches. She listens. She lets time reveal character. And in doing that, she stops attracting the same lessons on repeat. This is one of the quiet rewards of inner alignment. The outside world begins to reorganize around the standards she now holds within. A woman who is centered does not become harder to love. She becomes harder to misuse. There is a difference. She still has warmth. She still has softness. She still has compassion. But now her compassion includes herself. That changes everything. She no longer confuses suffering with loyalty. She no longer thinks proving love means enduring disrespect. She no longer believes that if she explains herself one more time, the right person will finally become emotionally available. She sees more clearly now. She knows that some people only feel powerful when they pull others into confusion. Some only connect through drama. Some only value what they must work to keep. And some are not looking for love at all. They are looking for access. The centered woman learns to stop offering herself to every unfinished person who arrives with potential and charm. She understands that potential is not commitment, words are not consistency, intensity is not depth. And when she sees misalignment, she does not stay to argue life into it. She steps back, calmly, quietly, without performance. This is where strategic withdrawal becomes powerful, not as punishment, not as a game, but as clarity. When you stop feeding a pattern, the pattern reveals itself. When you stop initiating, you see who reaches. When you stop over-explaining, you see who truly cares to understand. Distance has a language, and sometimes it tells the truth faster than conversation ever could. Strategic withdrawal is one of the cleanest forms of self-respect. It means knowing when your presence is being wasted and having the discipline to pull it back. So many women stay too long because they are attached to who someone could become. They keep investing in effort, hoping effort will turn into mutuality. But life is rarely changed by hope alone. If someone is careless with your peace, repeated access will not make them careful. If someone only values you when you are overgiving, then giving more will only deepen the imbalance. Stepping back is not cruel. Sometimes it is the first honest act. When a woman stops talking so much, she starts seeing more. She notices who only liked her when she was easy to drain. She notices who becomes uneasy when she is no longer easy to control. She notices who respects her boundaries and who treats them like challenges. This is why silence can feel threatening to people who benefited from your confusion. Your quiet forces truth into the open, and truth makes weak dynamics uncomfortable. But do not miss this part. Strategic withdrawal is not about becoming cold or unavailable to everyone. It is about no longer making yourself endlessly available to what breaks your peace. It is about giving life enough distance to show you what is actually there. And what is real will not need to be chased at full speed to remain. As this shift deepens, solitude stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like restoration. A woman who once feared being alone begins to realize that being alone is not the same as being empty. In fact, silence often returns her to parts of herself she had not heard in years. She begins to notice her own taste, her own rhythm, her own ideas, her own needs, her own pace. She stops filling every quiet moment with noise just to avoid what might rise inside. She lets herself sit with it, the grief, the anger, the longing, the truth. And because she stays with herself instead of escaping, she heals, not in one perfect breakthrough, but in small, honest moments. A journal page that tells the truth. A walk taken slowly. A night without reaching for validation. A morning that begins without checking who remembered her. These are not dramatic events, but they rebuild identity. They teach her that peace is not something other people hand out when they are in a good mood. Peace is a relationship she forms with herself, and once that relationship gets stronger, her standards change without effort. She does not need to announce them. She lives them. She does not need to threaten withdrawal. Her energy already knows when to close the door. This is what makes her presence feel different now. It is no longer asking to be chosen. It has already chosen itself. From that place, her relationships begin to change shape. She becomes less interested in intensity and more interested in steadiness. Less impressed by big words and more attentive to consistent actions. Less willing to rescue and more willing to observe. She learns that true connection does not require her to shrink, overwork, or constantly translate her pain into softer language so other people can digest it. Real connection can handle honesty. Real love does not punish calm boundaries. Real friendship does not feed only on your availability. Real respect does not require you to be exhausted first. And because she now knows this in her body, not just in theory, she becomes more selective with who gets access to her inner world. That is not ego. That is wisdom. She understands that energy is sacred. Time is sacred. Attention is sacred. And if you keep spending those things on confusion, you will have very little left for purpose, joy, healing, creativity, and peace. So she begins protecting the ordinary moments. Her sleep, her mornings, her body, her focus, her silence. These small forms of protection create a larger life. Stay with this because many people wait for a huge transformation while ignoring the daily leaks that drain their spirit. But a powerful life is often built by what you stop allowing every single day. And here is the beautiful part. When a woman becomes this grounded, she does not disappear. She becomes unforgettable in a different way. Not because she is loud, not because she is performing confidence, but because she carries a kind of steadiness that people crave. Her presence feels clean. Her words carry weight because she does not waste them. Her no is calm. Her yes is genuine. Her laughter returns from a deeper place. Her eyes are clearer. Her body is less rushed. Her nervous system is not available for every storm. And that changes what she attracts. People who only wanted easy access fade. People who respected depth begin to recognize her. Opportunities feel more aligned. Decisions become less foggy. She stops asking life to prove her worth and starts living as if her worth is already settled. That is when things begin falling into place. Not because the world suddenly becomes perfect, but because she is no longer making choices from panic, loneliness, guilt, or noise. She is choosing from alignment, and alignment has a quiet magnetism. It pulls the right things closer and makes the wrong things harder to hold. If this message speaks to you, remember this part most of all. You do not need to chase peace, prove your value, or explain your soul into being understood. Come back to yourself. Breathe. Go quiet. Watch what changes. So when life tests you again, and it will, do not rush to return to the old version of yourself. Do not hurry to explain, to fix, to plead, to manage, to react just because the room feels tense. Let the pause become your power. Let your breath become your first answer. Let your silence sort what noise never could. Ask yourself, does this deserve my energy, or is it only asking for my old pattern? Ask yourself, am I speaking from truth or from fear of being misunderstood? Ask yourself, if I truly respected my peace, what would I do next? Those questions can save you years, Because the woman who stays connected to herself in difficult moments becomes unshakable in ways that cannot be faked. She does not need the last word. She needs alignment. She does not need to win every moment. She needs to remain whole inside it. And as she keeps choosing that day after day, her life begins to carry a different quality. Less drama, more clarity, less chasing, more trust, less performance, more presence. This is not a small change. This is a complete shift in how a woman moves through the world, quietly, clearly, powerfully. And once she feels the strength of that kind of peace, she never again mistakes constant reaction for power. She knows better now. Real power is calm. Real power is clear. Real power knows when to speak, when to walk away, and when to simply stand still long enough for truth to reveal itself.